This is interesting.
No,
Hello.
hello everybody. No, you know what, and I totally agree. And it actually just brought me to something Bashar said that I heard like not too long ago was like if it's your time to die, all you literally have to do is close your eyes and say, "Okay, I'm ready." And then if it's your time, that you'll just leave your body and you won't come back. And he's like, it's that simple. He's like, death isn't scary. Death isn't like some, like whatever. He's like, just if you think that is really your time to die and that you don't have anything left here, if that's true, then when you close your eyes and you say, I'm ready, you'll die and that'll be the end of it. And I'm like, well, that's actually kind of cool. It takes a lot of, because I was like, well, when I'm like 85 and I don't want to be in my body anymore, I'm just going to drive off a cliff. No, I'll just close my eyes and be like, hey, let's go.
I was thinking of Bashar too, because there's a lady asking him about trees and like trees that get cut down or trees that have like graffiti on them and people vandalize them. And she's like, did this tree choose to be like, I guess, sacrificed in this way? And he said, yeah, like that's part of their contract, their agreement. So I think yes, Amber, to the chipmunk thing, because my
Mhm.
stray cats in the neighborhood bring me chipmunks all the time. They leave them on my yard and my driveway, and it's disgusting. But I also know that like animals have their own ecosystem. So it's like if it's their nature to do that, then yeah, it was the chipmunk's time.
Yep. And I look at it too, like my cat is like probably she's just as wild as much as she's like a love and she's part of my family and she's like in my house. Although yesterday I was like, just leave and don't come home because she like growled at me when I cuddled her and I was like, I want a cuddly cat. But anyways, I was like, come back, I was wrong. I love you and I miss you. But she
That's
but she's just as wild as everything else. So anything she's doing in the forest, like and when she comes home with a bird, I'm not even a fan. Like, I mean, I love the bird songs and stuff like that, but I'm like never been like and I mean I know some of that comes from my mom because my mom wasn't a bird person. And sorry, a cloud just kind of like overswept the area and it kind of tripped me out a little bit, just the way it kind of came in here. But my mom was never a bird person. She was actually like terrified of birds, but she did have a bird that she did like that would walk and talk to her, and it was a really cool bird. However, like I always like when I was a kid, I think I got pooped on twice. Like I was thinking about this, I was like, did I always really get pooped on by birds? And I was like, no, I think I got pooped on once, and from there I was like, I don't like birds because I don't like getting pooped on. Um, but then I had a bearded dragon that pooped on me all the time, so I'm not even like that disgusted by poop anymore. And then it was actually really interesting. Brandon got pooped on the other day now that I'm talking about this. Like literally like from a bird that we couldn't even see, and all of a sudden this thing like lands on his arm, and I was like, is that poop?
wow.
I've been
And
pooped on by a bird before too, and I was like so offended. Because, yeah, I was eating like lunch and I just got it and I didn't even get to take a bite of my burger. And I was like, no, I can't believe you did that to me.
Oh, that's right. You
Yeah.
guys don't have kids. I was like, when you're when you have kids, like you're not phased by that. I mean, I've literally had my son, my 5-year-old, and I can't even tell you how many times, probably like 3 or 4 or 5 times, poop in the bathtub when he was younger. And so like you're literally having to like drain it literally with gloves, like pull the whole thing. Not only that, but they
yep.
do like poop and pee on you, obviously accidentally. I mean, I've had the whole explosion in the car seat thing several times where like diapers are not like bulletproof, like so to speak. It literally
No.
will go up the back. And we've had, I remember
Yeah.
one time with my oldest, we stopped at a, I don't know where we're at. We're kind of farther away from home. And we stopped at like a self-serve car wash, where you put your
Oh,
car in there and then you do it yourself because like the car seat and then like his clothes, just at least to kind of gather up until we get home because we couldn't like, so it's
That's
not
a
what
smart
I'll
idea.
say pleasant. It's not what I'll say pleasant. Like I don't enjoy it, but you definitely get over that whole like thing, I
I
guess.
was
Because I'm
I was a nurse right out of high school. So what's worse than baby poop is adult poop. And
mm,
I'm honestly very like it was when I was very young that I was pooped on by a bird that I was like super offended. And then it's like I hate birds, they all poop on me. And it was literally maybe like two in my life. Um but that like skewed it for every bird. But as for poop like over the age of 18, I got pooped on once by a bird on Canada Day, and it pooped in my hair. And I just happened to have gotten a second t-shirt, so I just pulled off the t-shirt and wiped my hair out, and it was like, hey, let's go home so I can shower now. And that was literally, I think, the last time I can recall actually getting bird poop on me. But for like baby poop and puke, my niece was a puker. So I mean, I was puked on consistently when she was a baby. Like you didn't get out of getting puked on or pooped on by that child, like for sure. So I totally get what you're saying with like the diapers are not bulletproof. And my sister made the mistake of eating like seafood while she was breastfeeding on a hot day. And yeah, and it made my niece puke excessively more. Not cool.
Yeah, babies are more forgiving. I feel like birds, it's just kind of like if you're enjoying the day, it's like what compelled you to do that right where I'm standing? Like, but yeah, my nephew had a total explosion on me and like got it on my shirt when he was born. He just totally like blast off. And he was looking so cute and cuddly, and I was like, oh, come on, man.
Then
Like,
you feel
really?
the warm. You feel the warm. That's how you know you're like, why is it warm in that one? Oh, okay. That's funny. I don't know. I
Yeah.
love birds, and because of that, I've never been pooped on, like literally ever. And I've been to the ocean several, where like, especially like in California, you go to like California oceans. There's like tons of like seagulls and stuff.
Yeah, I've never been
Never.
pooped on there either.
Like obviously I've been to Florida a ton. Um, been to the water in Texas, like literally never. So that's really interesting. Speaking of birds, actually, I have like I always say I have a special fondness for birds, but I feel like with all animals really. But remember I sent you guys a picture of the little green heron baby that we rescued. Well, come to find out, like the HOA lady, like the head HOA lady, I don't know how any of that works because we don't own, we just rent, so we don't deal with any of that. But anyway, she lives in the neighborhood, and like I don't know, like 3 or 4 days later after we took the little baby to the rehab place, she was like posted a picture. She's like, oh look, I have this like mother green heron living and built a nest in my tree, and like she has babies, and she's like, I just love seeing them. And I'm like, very well could have been from the same nest. I mean, it got pretty far for as little as it is. But anyways, I was like, oh my gosh. So we come in this morning and we round the corner, and there's like another little baby. It's probably like double or triple the size, but it's not full grown adult. And it was hopping over, and I'm like, oh my God. I took a picture. It's not the best, but I think it was trying to hop over to the pond. But I was like, oh, I was like, well, we just found your sibling. So um it was really sweet. And there was like a raccoon out last night in the driveway. Walked right past my daughter's cat. Like just I just love seeing wildlife. Like I just love it. And there's been a bunch of sightings of like bears and stuff in like Florida. Because I'm in all these groups and they post, and like I don't know, it's just so cool. What was I gonna say? I was gonna say something. I'm drawing a blank now.
I don't know if you've seen when I had my camera flip just when we started. I pulled my chair out and I let out a gasp, and it was just a frog. We have a tree frog living underneath our house right
Oh,
now,
nice. Oh,
and
that's
so
so
I
cool.
was
I
like
love them.
watching him crawl up the chair, and I had my camera flip. But I know that like unless you're scrolled over and unless I was like on the main screen or whatever, you wouldn't have noticed what I was looking at, and I didn't want to cut
Well,
you
I
off
saw
talking.
something, but I didn't know if you just happened to like
No,
turn
yeah,
your camera. You know, how some people walking around, they're just like, they don't.
I was showing
I
you a
did.
frog.
Oh, I love tree. Are they the ones where they're like almost like neon green?
This one's black. He's a black tree frog.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The ones we have here are like almost like neon green, and it's funny because our back door that goes out to a backyard, like it's has like a really long window in it, and so one time it was like attached to on the outside, so I mean, you could literally. I'm like, here's a science lesson for you guys. Come here, like look, because you can see the other side of them because they're on the window, so you get to see it without like holding it. It was really cool, like the little feet with the little pads. I don't know, it was really cool.
That's awesome.
And it's super smooth on the front.
Mhm.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Okay, so yesterday when Rustin was trying to fix the air conditioner, um, and he comes in and he goes, "Well, I think I figured out." Because he's been an electrician, he's worked as apartment maintenance, like all this, so he knows like all this stuff. And he was like, "I think I figured out what it was." When he went by or something like that, and I go, "He?" I was like, well, "Who are you talking about?" He goes, "Just give me a minute." I'm like, "No, he who? Like who's been around, you know?" And he showed me a picture, and there's so like kind of, I don't know if you guys have ever seen like the giant air conditioners, like the units, outside of a house. Well,
Mhm.
there's a side panel that you pull off, and there's like a thing called a capacitor and something else. I'm lost. I'm like a flux capacitor, like a Back to the Future, and he's like, not quite. But it's this little bitty thing. But he showed me a picture, and I guess a mouse had crawled up in there and like had it. He probably could possibly would have like shorted it out, and then he obviously he passed, and he was kind of laying there, and I was like, oh, that's what you meant by he. He was like, you don't let me finish my sentence, and I'm like, well, I say he, I'm thinking of a human, so you know. And then it just like, I don't know, it just flooded like all of these different things of like, obviously the situation is happening for us, but then also like the entanglement of like with the animal. So we don't, obviously there's no way to know if that was exactly what caused it, right? But like kind of like the entanglement with like that obviously was his like ending of his soul contract. Do you know what I mean? And then like we are kind of entangled with like, then that's what led to like, I don't know. That's where our mind goes sometimes. And now that I'm like in the spirituality and being like talking about last night, like being a conduit, like we're kind of like, just a part of all of that. And I think it's like kind of exciting in a way.
It
You
actually
know what I
just brought
mean?
me to a statement that I heard not that long ago. And
Mm-hmm.
it was the fact that humans have made their biggest mistake by believing that we're separate from nature,
Mm-hmm.
that we are nature, that we are part of nature, just because we surround ourselves with concrete building and concrete slabs and asphalt and all of the things that we've just created that entanglement in that we've created that as part of the entanglement as part of nature. It doesn't look like nature to us because it's not natural. However,
Mm-hmm.
it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't take away our connection to the naturality of life and the fact that we are still part of nature. We are mammals just the same. Um, we were just given a different type of awareness. Our soul,
Yeah.
like when you talk about the spiritual part of animals, their soul maybe responds to the different issues in Earth, like the different predators, like like when a deer, like they're talking about um and doing that release, that making your body vibrate and letting go and doing that vibration that we were talking about last week. um
Mm-hmm.
Deers, when they get attacked, if one gets taken or the one survives, they literally just shake it off, and it's literally like the nervous system just releasing it, so they're not holding on to that fear. Otherwise you wouldn't ever get like 10 feet. We would never see a wild animal ever because they would be in just constant fear, whether it be because of humans or something that has attacked them. Like there'd be, and that's kind of what we've done to ourselves. Like we've locked ourselves in our homes and we've literally just stuck ourselves. Like we're in so much fear of everything. And I seen the cutest video of this lion with this deer, and the lion literally like tapped his paw at the deer, telling it to lay down, and this baby deer like snuggled into the lion. He's like, the lion just broke the food chain. Like, it was the cutest thing
Wow.
I've ever seen. I didn't
That's so
say, I
cool.
should have saved it and sent it to you guys. I don't know. I was on a scrolling mission. I was just on a mission from Mars or something. I don't even know what I was
Mm-hmm.
actually looking for something specifically, not that. But that caught my eye. I was like, oh, that's so fucking cute.
Well,
That is
like
super cute.
ancient mummies get buried with their cats, like
Mm-hmm.
people honored their animals that were by their side. So, I mean, it makes perfect sense. Like, yeah, before this whole like industrial age, even before that, like people were one with nature. People talked to
Yeah.
trees, people felt the earth on their feet, and yeah, it makes total sense.
And I think we're
Well,
like coming around kind of back full circle to that. There's a
oh,
lot of people,
100%.
and especially being in those groups, like, because I feel like Florida and then California as well are very into, probably because of like the ocean, I guess, I don't know, but like very much like like kind of they were here first, and that's how like I feel as well.
Yeah.
Um, and instead of like us, like, oh my God, there's so many of them. It's like, well, there's so many of us, like, you know what I mean? Like, and it's not, and I don't think it's, either way, but like in terms of like but and I've even asked like Rustin this before. I'm like, why do we feel like any other life is like less important than ours, right? A fly, a cat, a dog, a chipmunk, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't really see it as that. Because if we are all souls, then like at one point we were that, I know Dolores
Mhm.
Cannon goes, she talks about like start off as like a gas and then like a rock and then like whatever. But you know what I mean? And just like being even, and that's why like I don't agree with like hunting and all that stuff. Like, oh, animal preservation. I'm like, why? Like, who set upon like, oh, we have to have this amount, and like, well, they overrun this, and I'm like, okay, technically we overran like all of their space.
Right.
So I mean, like, you know, I mean, if you get down to it, but yet nobody's like, oh, we got to take out some of these humans, like, because why? I don't agree with you. You know what I mean? But that's the whole thing, and that's again why I gravitate towards Native American, because they're very heavily into like we're one, we're all one, and like how do we coexist? So I think that's where we're kind of coming back around to a lot more people like feeling that way. Like how do we all, you know what I mean?
How do we all exist together in
Mhm.
peace and harmony? And it's doable. It's finding that love. It's like when I was in danger in the forest, and this was before my spiritual journey, like the forest told me I was in danger. You know, and the forest like stood up and protected me within that danger, right? Like there was no, I no longer, like when I get out of my car, if there's an anxious feeling, it's like, or my hair stands up, it's like, okay, we you know, there's something in the neighborhood we have to be concerned of. Like, let's bring the bear spray, or let's, you know, like let's have something to make sure that we're safe. If I get out of the car and my body's in full like calm, I'm like, all right, let's go, you know. And even then, like that day I was calm when I sent them away, and then like the whole energy shifted, and like this tree just felt overbearingly hot, and I'm like, why are you so hot, you know, like I'm like, this is really interesting. And then out of the corner of my eye I see this cat, and we had just gotten Cleo, and this cat looked just like her, just bigger. And I was like, oh, Cleo came to the forest. And I'm like, Cleo's the size of your palm of your hand. This cat's the size of you. That's not your cat. I'm like, well, that's a good way to get me killed. Brain, like, help, somebody help, you know? And so you know, like I just, and instinctual, and I've never dealt with a cat in the wild before. I've seen like bobcats like driving by, and I seen a cougar driving by. Like I never was alone in a forest with a cat before, like not one that wasn't like mine. Um, and so I just knew not to turn my back on it. Like instinctual stuff like just kind of like overcame me. So it was like I kept my, and there was not too many ways that it could come at me without it, me seeing it. But of course this was a bad pain day, which was why I was alone in the forest, because I sent the guys up the rock cliff that I couldn't climb to go take pictures. And I had a bottle of water. Yeah, not my smartest moment. But regardless, I never had a cat come up on me in a forest before, and I'm not scared of black bears, and I know how to respond in pretty much all situations except for wild cats. And then seeing the wild cat, realizing that the Cheshire cat is not far off of the actual depiction of how a cat responds in a forest. Like it disappeared. It would stop moving and it would be gone. And then I would see it move and I'd be like, okay, there it is, right? Like, and I didn't take my eyes off it, and yet it still disappeared. And then as like my cat got bigger, I would do the same thing. I would watch her. She'd just be sitting and she would just disappear in front of my eyes. And I'm like, blink, 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 you know, like where'd she go? Like I can't find her. And Brandon come, he's like, well, she's still sitting right there. And I'm like, oh, yeah, so she is. Like they just blend, they just disappear. And as soon as they stop moving, they're like one with the forest. It's the most interesting thing to witness. And that's what happened with this cat. Like as it was moving towards me, I could see it, but as soon as it stopped, it was gone. And so Brandon was the first one to get back to me, because like we have the emergency word is boat, because whether you're in a plane, in a boat, on the ground, if you're yelling boat, people are looking, because why the fuck is there a boat? You know, like, and that was our determination. Like it being on the ocean, it was like boat, 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 boat. So that's what I'm screaming in this forest, boat. So Brandon's first one down, and Walter's like, why is there a boat? Right? Because that was the friend that we were hiking with. And of course, we'd never had this conversation with this guy. So here I am, never expecting to have to scream boat in the presence of others. And he's like, well, I'm more interested in the fact of why you were yelling boat. And I'm like, cat. And he's like, oh, and he grabs a branch. And this is one thing to know about cats. Don't turn your back and just grab a branch. Just grab something and walk towards them with no fear. Just branch and go at them. They don't like being hit, and it's just like your household cat. It's like they're just gonna go. And instantly, as soon as he did that, like the peace, it was instantly the energy shifted. The trees let go, like the relax. Like I knew that. I was like, they were still like looking. I'm like, no, we're safe. And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, you didn't just feel that? I'm like, there's no danger anymore. Like it's gone. And I was like, and I was good again. We went and sat in the river, and yeah, I could see that they were still like a little like on edge looking, but I was like, a tree just told me a cat was after me. I'm good. You know, like that instant peace within me. I'm like, no, totally get it. I'm amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. It's so interesting,
That's so
like
cool.
being in the wild with wild animals in their habitat, because you're like
This
kind
is
of,
their home.
it's their home, and you're kind of like intruding, right, onto like their space, their property, I guess, their land, environment, whatever. My friend and I, we took a trip to Dominican Republic, and we signed up to swim with these sharks. Now, mind
Mm.
you, they weren't like great whale sharks. They were like these tiger sharks and these stingrays. And we were told like just go in and like don't worry, they don't bother you. Like I was so scared. Like I was aware of like how beautiful it was underwater. I was like, oh, like look at all the fish you swim. And then you see these like harmless sharks. And I'm like, what the hell did I get myself into? Like, this is their home. Like, how could
Wow.
they tolerate humans in their space? And I had like a similar thing when I was in South Africa. My host family was taking us to, I was there on a mission trip, so we like worked. We didn't have any like free days, but the last day before we went home was the free day. So they took us to this zoo, and we got to sign up to hold baby cubs, like lion cubs.
Mm.
These were not
Oh,
these, yeah, that's what I was saying at first. I was like, oh, I want to hold a baby lion cub. Like I was
yeah.
picturing like you can like hold it.
Hmm.
No, this was like a teenage size lion that was like
Wow.
2 times my size. And it's sad because they like sedated them so that they could like have people come
Oh,
in and pet it. I was so excited, and the moment I entered their space, because there's nothing to separate, like you're just in there. And if they make a fast move, like that's it. And I'll have to show you a picture, because literally in the picture, I'm leaning away and I'm trying to touch it like this.
Oh my God.
I was like, oh, this is
Wow.
the dream. I want to touch the line. And then as soon as I got in there, I was like, take it quickly, quickly, like before they wake up. Yeah. And
Wow.
one of them did snip the we had a driver take us, and the driver got to go into, and he snipped one of them snipped at the driver. It like woke up and was like, "Rah," and then just kind of went back to
Mm.
sleep. But I was like, see, y'all, we are intruding in their space. Like, let's just admire them from
the defeat.
here to there. Like they're in their
Oh,
habitat for a reason. So yeah, it's interesting how animals will,
Wow.
yeah, because you can like sense it, like it's, yeah.
oh,
And
100,
here,
100%. If you're listening, and the most interesting part about this was, like I say, I wasn't on my spiritual path. However, like this was at a point when my pain was like super bad. It was a super bad pain day. My ego still wasn't very present. Like I was still like finding the result of the gabapentin. I was still like, getting over that kind of stuff. So my connection to the universe, and my connection to source, my connection to the earth was a lot more in tune than I even realized at that moment. Um, and I'm just glad that I don't feel that I've lost it. Like I know there was like probably some moments like as my ego came back, and it's like, oh, you're not really noticing that, you're not really feeling that, like there was that, definitely, that those doubts that did kind of flood back over time. But it's like if you are quiet, like, and I was quiet, I was just in my quiet space, and like I say, like that tree just felt too hot. And had I been like in my normal human, maybe I would have just like walked by and been like, and shrugged it off. But I know that I was protected because I legit was like, what's wrong with you? Like I literally asked the tree, like, what is wrong with you? Why are you so hot? Like I was so deep, we were so deep in the forest where we were, that it was so shaded that like there was no sun hitting that tree. Like, and it was a littler tree. Like it wasn't what like it could have been getting sun out the top, because it was so much lower and smaller than all of the other trees. And I literally am like, what's wrong with you? Like, why are you so hot? Like I literally, like, conversation with a tree probably at that point in my life felt almost insane, being able to like stopping and having that conversation. Um with a tree. And had I ignored it, I may have been cat food. Like it may have been a different story, you know, like because I wouldn't have been in that attentive space. I wouldn't have had that glance of that cat. Because the only reason why I got the glance of that cat, because cats are invisible. If they don't want you to see them, you are not going to see them. And I wouldn't have caught that glimpse of that cat had that tree not been like, I'm like, oh, what's going on with you? Like, why are you so interestingly warm comparatively to the rest of the day in the forest? So it's like just being within tune to nature and finding that space within you to allow that connection to take place. And you know, and just sometimes that alert of being in danger is enough to stop that danger. And like had I don't had two people that were above the mountain to come back to me, like what would the results have been if I was just alone and I didn't have a way, like didn't know like how to get rid of the cat? Like again, it could have been like you know a little bit worse, but I at least still feel confident in the fact that I know that as long as I'm listening, the answers are there. And then I feel like that's a big thing within all of the spiritual space, within all the soul space, is just, you know, we don't have to be quiet all the time. We can't necessarily, you know, the thoughts are we're thinking creatures. We're, you know, without thoughts, we don't have any wisdom or anything to come across. You know, there's always that space for thinking. We want to be in control of it. We don't want that background noise and those background programs. Those are, I think, generally what our biggest release needs to be, is that, but our thoughts are never going to stop. However, when you can just take a breath and breathe, like stop and smell the roses is what kind of just popped into my head. Stop and smell the roses. You know, in that brief moment of smelling is enough space and time for your guides to give you what you need to know at that moment. And that's what I really probably learned that day, that maybe I ignored even up until this present moment, is the fact that, like, had I not stopped to be like, that's different, you know, like that's, I might not be here today to you know to have this conversation again. Like, you know, just look at how that went down. That was a big cat. that cat was bigger than me. That's a little
Speaking of
cat.
cats,
My cat's wandered by a few times now
So
too.
sweet.
She was upset. We were just pouring last night, so she was in the house sleeping. So
You
now
know,
she's
interestingly, out of 4 cats, I have no idea where any of mine are. Although, because we, like, I'm so insanely blessed, and I keep forgetting, because like even though like our AC broke, and so I went to go, because the landlord was like, okay, like I'll have somebody come look at it. Oh, he was on the way, so Russ was like, just go pick up our son. So I went to go pick him up, and I was like, I was in that moment, like I was like, you know, when you feel like everything's like coming down around you, and I was like, fuck. And so I was super upset. And then, like, no joke, I had 2 neighbors reach out to me, and one was like, I have a right across the street from me. She's like, I have a window AC unit that, she goes, we just have in our sunroom, so like we don't like really need it. She's like, do you want to borrow that? And then my other neighbor, she's like, my cousin has 2 of the rolling AC ones you just plug in and like hook up to. And I was like, oh my God. And I'm like, because it was literally 90 in here, you guys. My daughter's room was 100 degrees because it's upstairs. She's like, I can't even like go up there, like do homework, anything. And and then today was supposed to even be hotter, and then tomorrow's hotter, and then tomorrow, you know, like it's all heat advisory. And I'm like, oh my God, you know. And I was like, I am so, and then she even proceeded to drive with the 2. She drove like 40 minutes to bring it to us. I offered, I was like, you know, I'll come get it. And she was like, no, when she brought those out. And so we put them in the, well, I put the window unit in the living room, and we're like, we'll just all, well, the 4 of us at least, I was like, we'll just camp out in the living room, like huddled by the thing, you know? And so we did. But interestingly enough, because we're always usually in our beds, our cats scratch and do all this like messed up crap during the middle of the night. And because we were all in the living room, all 4 of them were like, it was like they were confused. Like they're like, our normal shenanigans, like what's happening? So like literally they were all super chill last night. They slept inside, like on the couches and like wherever. It was like they were confused. Like they were thrown off by like our pattern, that they didn't even know what to do with their own. Like I woke up and they were just like kind of looking at me like, really? All of you guys out here? I don't understand. Because usually the one cat, she'll usually try to like climb up here and stand at the top. and then she'll freaking jump down and land on you sometimes, not like on purpose, but just, you know, that. So she does that little charade at night in order for you to let her out and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
my
And
cat does
so
that too.
like none of that happens. I normally like try to get at least the 3 of them and just put them outside at night to where I'm like, I'm just gonna cut this out. But I noticed like it was so interesting because like Sunday when Tom was kind of having his moment, you know, and I had been in like quote in the zone for like a good 4 days. And so when he was bringing it up, I'm like, gosh, that's so interesting. I don't resonate with that, right? Like, not that I don't understand what it's about, but at that moment I wasn't feeling it. I'm like,
Yep.
poor guy. You know? And then Jan, when he was saying, he's like, well, this could change, you know, next week. And I'm like, really? Like, I just, and then like Monday I wake up and I'm just like, F this, F that, F you, F it. Like, and like, and I'm like, whoa, I'm
That
like,
was good, but if you think about it,
what?
when you say poor you, this is why being very cautious about, and this is why I brought this up with Jan, even when he was just like, money's hard. You know, like you get into a state where money's hard to make, like into those belief patterns. This is why it is so important to, even if it's unintentional, and that's probably the biggest part about it, is it come out unintentionally. Like, well, I know I'm supposed to pay attention to that, but you know that's not what I meant. I was just trying to make, okay, as soon as you've said that, that's just showing you what belief is running, or what belief can read that cycle. It's going to recall up that cycle. So how is this for you? As soon as somebody, and this is why I've really rethought how I respond to people who have lost loved ones, people that are very in their human, that are having that hard time. Because as soon as you have that thought, oh, poor you've moved yourself into that energetic space. You've taken yourself to that frequency. You've empathized into that frequency. And that's that whole, like, that's why I'm actually really interested in seeing how Jan's perception, or not Jan, sorry, Yuki's perception on empathy this week, because I started deep in my empathetic space. Like when I started with Jen, it was because she cried out to empaths, soul workers, light workers, and starseeds, right? Like, and I've, you know, and I recognize that, and that's who I'm calling in as my soul tribe, and as the people that I want to guide as well, is like that similar path, soul-led entrepreneurs and that kind of stuff. But it's interesting coming from that space where I had to turn down my empathy, not shut it off. Of course, it's always going to be there, but I'm at a point where I can read the energy from a distance, and I have that space around me, and I have a reading screen, and all the tools that I'm now teaching are ones that I use on a regular basis to keep my space open. But as soon as you said poor me, that instantly that your energy is now in his energy. And then, like you said, and then Monday, and that's how fast that reflection happens. So that is why, like, that's why when I went, you know, that's why I said what I did to Jan instantly, was because, like, if there's any program that you want to catch yourself in, it's that one. Because as soon as you, like, so and it's okay to start there, but if you didn't shift from, oh, poor you, and actually consciously create the next version of that, okay, how is this working for him? You know, like, if you didn't go through that process, you stayed in that, oh, poor him, and then all of a sudden now all of the experiences for poor you get to, you know, shower and rain over top of you. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it
Yeah.
definitely does make sense. And I didn't spend the majority of the time there. I was mostly like, that's really interesting. And it wasn't judgmental, like, oh man, what do you do? Like, it was more of like, that's interesting that that's what you're experiencing, because that's not what I'm experiencing, right? And I hadn't for like quite a few days.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that's so cool. That's so interesting, you know? And then like I said, Monday, and then Rustin's like, it happens that fast. He's like, literally that fast. And I was like, dude, like, it does. And it happens that fast. And then like, I'll feel like I shift out of it, you know, like I'll try to be positive. Like, I'm like, oh, hey, like, let's maybe, cause I was in a moment, and I used to do this prior when I was younger, actually. I would, well, I was completely unaware, but like, there were times where, like, if I was super like stressed, or like my emotions were heightened, I would start laughing. Like, I remember one time, like, the love of my life, he was like telling me about this like super traumatic event that happened to him, and I started like busting up laughing, and he was pissed. I mean, he was like pissed, and I was like, and later my mom had to explain to him, like, she's not laughing like, ha, it's funny, but she doesn't in that moment know how to like express herself or react, so it just comes out laughing. Obviously, I haven't done that in years. I fully express myself. I'm aware, and like, you know, whatever. But last night or yesterday, it was interesting because it happened. And it hasn't happened in like, I mean, probably years. And because at first I was like, hey, cool, it's 90 degrees in here. Like, what are we doing? Like, you know, and then I'm like, how can I switch this? Like, how can I switch it? And so I knew once I knew that my neighbor was going to let us borrow the unit, I was like, hey, I was like, how about this? I was like, let's look up some comedy, like freaking Dane Cook, like some, I don't know, Cat Williams, like Joe Coy, somebody that's like super hilarious that just gets me like busting up, like tears rolling, laughing. And I was like, let's sit around the air conditioner, like let's just like bust up laughing, right? And then, but anyway, so I read an email. It was actually from a client, so we get their emails, and it was like the date that it was like for their next coming event was like prior, like 2 weeks prior. And then I clicked the link to register, and it was like, sorry, this session had ended. And I was like, what? But anyway, so out of nowhere, and I was like, hey, babe, because I was going to tell Rustin to like let him know that you know it was like a mistake or whatever the date. And I was reading it, and as I started reading it, I was like just freaking just busting up laughing. And Russell looks at me like, are you okay? And I'm like, and I had this moment of like, I don't know, it was just weird. I don't know, I guess like to just try to get it out. But that was really interesting. But I thought I had shifted. And then like again today, I kind of did my did I do my chanting yet? No, I didn't actually. But I felt like I was in a good space. When we went, this lady was giving us boxes, and I was like, I'm super grateful. And went to go get it. And then I had a moment because Rustin was actually having a moment. And I was like, I noticed that when you don't wake up and take time for yourself and do your kind of morning routine thing, I was like, that you're a jerk. And he was like, well, that's because I didn't have time for myself. And I was like, well, you didn't take time for yourself. Like you literally ran up or jumped up, got dressed, and then we went. And I said, but that's not, like, that's what you chose to do because you didn't wake up earlier, right? Kind of thing. And he goes, well, I just didn't, you know, this is exactly what I don't want. Like, I don't want to like scramble to get boxes and scramble to pack and move and all this other stuff. He goes, I want to be of the belief that we're wealthy to where we hire somebody and they literally come in and do everything, right? And I was like, and then I kind of just lost it. And I was like, well, we haven't cultivated that belief that we have 10 grand to pay somebody to do that, plus another whatever, plus another whatever, plus another whatever. So I was like, here, this is the moment that we're at. This is what we got. So I was like, now, I was like, but you can choose to see it as scrambling. I don't. I literally just, we're choosing to get up in the morning because I told her yesterday we're going to come get it. Then the AC broke. So I was like, it's supposed to be thunderstorming here a little bit later. I just wanted to go and grab it so we could be done with it. I was like, you can look at that as scrambling, or you can look at it as like holding my word because I told her I'd go and get it because she's being gracious enough to give us all these boxes, you know? And I was like, in terms of the scrambling, I was like, I've literally been talking about packing every single day. Like we can do that 1 box here, 1 box here, 2 boxes here. You know, I was like, it's all a perspective, but I really got to that, like that point of like just wanting to give up. And I don't mean like life. So don't, you know,
No.
don't worry about that, but just like the spiritual aspect of like, even when you're in the hustle and grind, like at least you feel like you have control in some way. Like at least I have a 9 to 5 and I'm at least making a paycheck. Am I capped? 100%. Am I working for somebody else? Yes. Am I selling my soul? Yes. However,
But you still feel like you have control.
It pays bills and it gets you somewhere. Like I just, you know what I mean? And like
the letting go of control is one of the things that I've probably struggled the most with is
yeah,
giving up the control and being and sitting in the belief that it's okay to be just being. And so I absolutely resonate with that, like 100% of the, at least in like outside of the spiritual realm, like even if it is essentially a no control over your life, like you're giving the control to everything else around you and you start living in that, it looks like you have control because you've made the decision to give that control up. So that was the choice, was to you give up that control, and at least you know because you're, and it's just all the skewed views of money and what it is and what it means and that kind of stuff and all the meanings like we've given certain things. So no, I absolutely resonate with the whole giving up, throwing your hands up. I have gone and screamed and yelled and been like, this is stupid, like screw you, I'm done. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
100%.
in recent weeks, this isn't like, I'm not talking like a month ago or a year ago. I'm talking like yesterday.
Yep,
And then I went to bed at
yep.
6 p.m. So, it's I absolutely resonate. The laughing is actually really good because Napoleon Hill, in his one, I think I told you about this. I have this one on Audible saved that it's actually his class spoken in his words, and it's his actual teaching of the law of success, and it's all in his words and his experience, and even in teaching that class, he had went through and experienced some things and talks about them and stuff like that. But he says the way that like on days where he's being judgmental, on days where he's not loving life, and on days when he's not feeling it, he laughs. He will put himself out the backside of something and away from everybody and laugh hysterically until he's actually laughing. And
Yeah.
Really synchronistic because I was literally thinking about having, you know how Shannon does her like sound class,
Hmm.
about just having a time where we just laugh our asses off. Like, because there is a such thing as laughter yoga, and it does have really good benefits. And I was feeling that there's not tension, but like, yeah, we're all going through the ebbs and flows, and we all have life outside of this like really awesome container. And what better way to release and just berserk laugh, like full out
I
belly
think that
laugh.
would be absolutely amazing. And I would even pitch it to Yuki to see if he wanted that as like a thing. Because
Yeah, I mean, there's a way to just, kind of strategic, there's exercises that you can do. And I almost made a post and I didn't want to come off like immature. But like you, Amber, like I just like some days I just need a good laugh. Like
oh yeah.
I need somebody to just crack me wide open and just make me bust out
Yep.
laughing, like crying laughing.
Yep.
And I came across this video of this guy who just randomly, I don't know if he's doing it for real or if he has like a fart machine, but he goes out into the street and he just walks into crowds and he starts farting. And you see the
I've
reactions of
seen that.
Wow.
people. And they're like, oh my God, like they're all like stunned and they just like walk the other direction. But I couldn't stop laughing because it wasn't just the sound, like he was making it really dramatic, like shaking his
Yeah,
leg.
yeah.
Like, but anyway, I mean, there's a million things that can make
That
you
is
laugh,
so
but
funny.
Have you
There,
seen
you
the
know,
two? Have you seen the
that
two
is
guys that go up and they go up behind like couples or people and they just start singing like random stuff behind them? Have you seen those guys? Okay, I will send you those. He sings some of the most inappropriate random things to people, and it's so it gets me every time because you just so unexpected and the people's faces are like what. And they come up behind this one guy and this guy and this young girl and they start singing and she's like this is my dad, just so you know, because it was like and he's like, well, now he has to like you. Like, and I'm like, oh my God, it was too much. I will find that. I can't remember what their names are. But Brandon, they come up on his feed more than my feed, but I'll get him to send me one of their videos and I'll send it to you guys because they make there's so
that's
much. If you want
super
a good
funny.
laugh, like I laugh at some really inappropriate things, but I have no problem sending them to our WhatsApp chat.
That's really funny. You know what's interesting? I used to watch this TV show. I don't know if you guys remember. It's called Wife Swap. I
Oh
know
yeah.
that sounds okay, but if you haven't, but like basically, have you seen it, Ashley?
I've heard of it, but I know I haven't seen
Okay,
it.
so basically you have these two families and they have, there's a wife and they're kind of like, feeling like they're not being uh what do you call it? Appreciated or what, whatever. So they literally go on the show and I don't think they know ahead of time, but they literally swap. So this wife goes to this family's house and this wife goes to this family's house and they swap completely. They take their things and then they kind of are the mom in that family for, I don't know how long it is, a week or 2 weeks or something like that, right? And getting to know the families and all that stuff. And then they go back and then they kind of share like how the experience went with the other family and then also how their family was without them and all that stuff. Anyways, speaking of this laughing thing, there was this one mom where they did I don't know if there's a called laugh yoga, but it was like they had these circles of literally like people in their community, and they would literally just stand in a circle, like out in the field or grass or whatever, and they would just like bust up laughing. The mom was always wearing like a tie-dye shirt. They were super like happy and like joyful and all that stuff. But they would literally just stand in these, and so then like the wife would go to the other house, and then she was trying, and these people were like, "What are you just standing around laughing? Like what are the, you know what I mean?" Because like that's what she does, right? And then anyways, it was just interesting. And at the time I thought it was weird because this is a long time ago. It was probably like 15 years ago. And I'm like, oh, happy people? Like, no. But just thought it was super cool. And their family, like they got along, they were super happy and joyful all the time. But then come to find out, right, because Wife Swap, it was obviously filmed everywhere. And coming to find out, no joke, they lived in the same freaking town as I did in California. Obviously it was aired previously, but I'm like, everywhere I'd go, I'd be like, where are these where's this family? You know? But I just thought it was super cool, and they literally just laugh, and there wasn't any like structure to it, but they're like a deep belly laugh. It wasn't like a ha ha ha, but they would literally just like stand in these circles and they would just like laugh. And I'm like, that is really freaking cool. And that's why like I always go to stand-up comedy, because there's some people, some of them that I like immediately. I just fucking rolling. And it really is so, and I think that's what it was, is I think kind of like that shedding, that releasing for me, I think was just like trying to get that out. Cause I was just, I mean, like literally tears. My daughter was staring at me like I was nuts. Rustin was staring at me as nuts. Cause I was reading the email. That's probably why they're thrown off by it. And Rustin was like, I don't really, I mean, I don't see it as funny, but like, okay. I was like busting up. And I think like it was really cool too to see last night, like the entanglement, like I said in the message, and I didn't listen to your guys' yet because it's kind of been a quick morning already. But like of like Tom, and then noticing like what came up for me when like he's going through kind of the same thing that we went through a year ago. Well, I mean, Rustin chose to leave his corporate job, but like we jumped all in, and there was fear from the gate, fear from the beginning. And it was interesting because like I was super excited for him. And then immediately there was thoughts that was like, don't do it. Don't do it, because you're going to end up right where we are. And like I looked at Rustin later after the call, and I was like, you know, it's interesting, because I go, I would love to be like, oh, look at us, like we're the proof. And I'm like, we're not. You know what I'm saying? Like, if anything, I literally on the call, I could almost feel like he was looking at us like subconsciously, right? Like, well, shit, I don't want to end up like them. You know what I mean? And like I felt it, and Russ was like, yeah, I hear you. And like immediately yesterday, because the air conditioner broke, and like I said, this has been coming for like 3 weeks. We've been like duct taping it together, metaphorically speaking, just to get it to work to where we didn't have to say anything to landlord. So when it finally literally kaboom blew up in his face, you know, and supposedly Russ was saying it's a fire hazard now. I don't know what he means by that, but there's some kind of electrical short.
The mouse probably chewed through the wires.
Well, no, this is something in the attic, because there's 2 units.
Oh.
And then so he's like, well, I just called her, and she's like, I have no money. She's like, I don't even know what to do. I have no money. You have no money. You haven't given me money, so I have no money for you, because you have, you know what I mean? Like, it's just this fucking cycle. And so what was my point? I lost my train of thought because my kids are screaming in the background.
The cycle of money and
Oh yeah, so she's like, you know, without money, right? Because I get it. Like she's like, without you giving me money, I can't fix anything, because I can't help me, because you can't help you to help me to help you. And it's like, you know what I mean? And so I was like, dude, I was like, seriously, I go, screw this. I was like, we will wake up in the morning, like we will drop our son off, and I was like, we will DoorDash until it is dinner time. I was like, every day. Because there are people that make, you know, $1,000 a week or whatever doing DoorDash, but you have to do it for a considerable. We're only doing it like here and there a little bit, like 2 hours here. We skip the weekend, like all that stuff. And I was like, well, just do that. And of course, you know, he's doing stuff today and the business, and I'm like, it's not making any money. Like, I mean, I'm just so. But then the other thing I noticed also this morning is like, I was like, we have now cultivated this belief, because I was like, we'll get like money from somewhere. And then it's like, it's barely enough to just kind of spread through, right? Like this money that we got, it was like, we were like 2 months behind on the internet. They actually shut our internet off yesterday, which is what we used for, our business.
Yep.
And so I was like, okay, well, let's get current with that. And then we paid my car payment just to stay current, because that was, in jeopardy of repossession, like not that long ago. And then we paid like electricity and like water. And it was like, boop, that was it. And Rustin even told her, he was like, we can't pay you because then we have not, then now like we can't live, And she's like, no, I completely understand. And so I was like, now we have cultivated this belief somehow that like we just have enough. And he goes, we've lived in the whole survival mind for so long that like it's like just enough to get by. Like,
So
you know what I mean? Like just enough. And I'm like,
this is where letting go, okay, and this is kind of a new, this is kind of like coming up on my awareness. Like, it's been really interesting because I've realized that every intention that I've set for the last year has come to fruition. And so yes, I have in-depth like overall conscious creation that I'm working through and working on. But I've realized that in setting like different intentions, I wanted to learn how to use my gifts. I wanted to use my gifts to help people. So my focus was on learning my gifts to help people. So I did that. Then I learned how to use my gifts for myself. I've done that. However, I wanted a successful business. I wouldn't call my business financially free yet. It's coming, but my business is successful. It's got a good name. I have amazing testimonials. I have 21 people taking the program right now. All of y'all need to get your asses in gear and start working. Just kidding. Not really.
no, I know.
But,
every time you tell me, I'm like, shit, yeah.
But I also understand the overwhelming of life and everything that everybody's got going on. And this is why I do understand now the recognizing when people spend money on something, they're more inclined to actually finish it versus if you've given it to them for free. Are they going to stay invested with their time the way that I have? Not everybody is going to. There is going to be some. And however, I still feel that my program is super beneficial. So the people, I will never ever regret putting the people 100%. In there that are in there, right? However, what I've really discovered, no matter what you're feeling, no matter what you're doing, no matter where we are, the beliefs that are important, the beliefs in source, believe whether you pray to it as God, as the divine, as source, as the universe, find space to cultivate the belief that you are being supported by that energy. That is going to be, and that was like, and if you did get through the messages where I seen the yellow building with the Mexican food with the John.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I saw those. Yeah.
Okay, like that went ding 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 ding. All right, and then with Ashley, with the religious people at her door, there is many reasons why I am like. There is so much different energy even just around my space today because like I went to bed at 6 o'clock last night and I was feeling in and out of my human. Like I was very, very in and out. And I recognize now if Tom lost his job with Laura, which again, blessing in disguise, he did ask for this. He didn't want to break his contract to her. He didn't want to let her down. However, he was not invested anymore. So the universe gave him a way out without him having to actually quit. He asked for that. Which is amazing. So that right there shows you how powerful intention settings are. And that may not have been like his like conscious like decision. However, it was his conscious decision. He didn't want to be a part of Laura's company anymore. And if he goes back and watches the recordings leading up to this, he will see the day that his intention was set and how long it took from his intention being set to not be a part of that business and being able to go full time in his to when it took place. And that's how long his beliefs are taking. So this is kind of the practice that I went through this morning, actually, with my friend Liz too. When did you decide to live on a boat? I made that choice 3 years ago. Okay. So that's how long your beliefs are taking to be put into action right now. This is how, so what do you need to change in your beliefs to make that change, to make that faster for you? Your intentions now you're already in that newest version of you. You know your gifts, you're powerful, you stepped fully and completely onto your soul path. You are being divinely led, whether you recognize exactly what that's going to look like, how the death doula or whatever, whatever process, whatever you probably, I'm going to say it'll be your own like mix of different, what are those called? Oh shit. Like You got your psychic, your mediums, like what? Hmm?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
Ashley needs to go.
oh, Ashley, okay. Well, you enjoy your day, and
Yeah,
I'll
We'll
leave
see you
you
on
sorry.
to
chat.
listen to messages.
Yeah, I'm gonna I'm gonna respond on our group chat, and then I'm also gonna listen to your message, Laura, because I didn't get to finish. So,
Yeah, I'll do
but
that
I
too.
have
And I guess
some.
we'll.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say I just have some thoughts about this, so I'll send a
Yeah.
message.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you.
Sounds
We'll
amazing.
see you at Shannon's call.
Yes.
Is
Oh,
it
yes.
today?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh shucks. Okay, I didn't put it in my calendar.
in an hour.
Okay, I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, me too,
Okay.
because I totally forgot to.
Okay.
I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Um,
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
that is
Yeah, it's
super
every
fun.
2 weeks because it's Yuki's camp thing, and then the next week is
Oh,
Shannon's, and then his camp, and then the or no,
okay,
yeah,
gotcha. So, yeah, so like I was saying to my friend this morning, I was like, when did you decide to live in a boat? And she goes, well, I told myself I would be happy. I looked at the time that I was happiest in my life, and that was when I was living on my boat the last time, and that was back in, and
Mm.
that was like 10 years before that, but it was 2022, and I realized that that was my happiest moment, and now I'm living in my boat, but I'm not happy. And I said, okay,
mm,
but you told yourself that you were going to be happy. The manifestation, you were in a very depressed state, and then all of a sudden, like there was instant happiness, but you realized, but this is still just leading you down that path of healing, right? But for her, it was like you found your path, because it did start your path. And so it's really, so these are the things that I've really, really, really found in the last few days that have been very powerful, even within my own mind, especially with the 3D still lacking some of the results. But when did I cultivate the belief that I wanted to live off the grid, in the forest, in British Columbia, in a homemade house? That was in 2023, 2022, 2021. In that generalized amount of years. So how long did it take me to cultivate this in weird and random universal ways that took me here? It took me 3 to 4 years. Okay, so how do I speed up the belief for the next thing I'm building? Well, I'm already working on those, so I'm not even concerned. I know that it's coming, and I know that it's now. And now today. And you know, like now today, because if I'm going to say it's tomorrow, if I'm going to say that my belief is in within a month from now, it will always be a month from now.
yeah,
So it's like it's happening today now. And no matter where my mind goes, it's like, how do I, if it's like, well, no, it's probably going to be another month. Okay, well, why do I feel like it's going to be another month? Well, because the
yeah,
clients aren't still coming. Okay, well, but I can change but that energy, I'm calling in my clients. So that makes that this can happen today. So talking yourself through that consistently, until when you first go to the thought, well, when is this happening? Today. Okay, cool. You know, and then there's no discussion about, like, regardless of whether it is technically, Jesus, mosquito, get out of my face, today in the 3D or not. If you can sit in that energy of it being today, the longer that you can sit in that energy of it being today, the sooner today it's going to be. So it's just
yeah,
talking yourself down from it being, well, years from now, oh, it's going to take us years to get the clients. It's going to take us years to get this. It's going to take us months to do this. It's
yeah,
okay. Well, why do I think it's going to take months? Well, everything isn't holding the way that it should. Okay, well, I'm going to just change my energetics behind it. I went through my Medium, all of my titles on medium.ca, and I changed all of the titles to my pieces, all with a different energy. So whether you go back to those posts, edit the post a little bit, put a different energy into it, coming from a place of having, and, oh, what do I want to say differently within this space, and how do I want people to feel this differently? I've noticed my TikTok, all of a sudden I'm like, gotten followers. I'm going to go probably live today, but I out of want, not out of need. I just, want to go and say hi to everybody. I'm not doing this because I have to get people. I'm doing this because I want to. I'm doing this because I want to be present. I don't,
yeah,
that's releasing that attachment to, I have to do this because it's going to bring people in. No, you want to do this because it's going to bring people in. You want to do this because you just want to do it. It's not even about even releasing that attachment to having people come in. I just want to do this. And finding that space of happiness. Like, she got a boat. Why did you want that? Well, I wanted it because I felt it was going to make me happy. And as soon as your mind is drawn to something that's going to make you happy, that's what our whole thing here on earth is learning to be happy and finding happiness within ourselves. So it's okay if something can bring you that, it can bring you that happiness, if only for a brief moment, to bring you into that emotion of happiness, to make you realize that a thing is only going to bring you happiness for like a few minutes. You know, that happiness is definitely cultivated within all of the beliefs within inside you. You can be happy with nothing, you can be happy with everything, or you can be miserable with nothing and miserable with everything. And we've been bared witness to that on all, you know, with even within our own group, even within the Soul Purpose group. And so it's literally, you know, it's okay to call in the thing to make you happy. It is okay to call in that thing, as long as you know that that thing isn't necessarily going to be the result of your happiness, but it can make it easier to stay in that energy of happiness. So she called in a boat thinking that boat was going to make her happy. It made her happy. She was super excited, got the boat, and now she's sitting on the boat going, okay, I was happy for a minute, but I'm still by myself, and now my pets don't cuddle, and I'm on my own on a boat. I'm not happy anymore. Well, fuck. Right? Like, oh no. It was like being out in the forest in my self-built home and with no rent and no bills and none of these things. It's like, but now we can't leave our home. We can't leave it because it's in a public space. So we have to be present. And now we can't travel the way that I want to travel. So I got everything that I wanted. without the freedom that I was actually looking for. I'm free. I'm free from bills. I'm free from landlords. I'm free from payments other than like the normal ones, the gas, the food, the you know, the water, the power, that kind of stuff like that. Those bills don't just disappear. Like even if you're off the grid, you still have things that need gas and that need things to run. And especially we're not living by water. Soon we'll live by water, and then I'll be able to use water to make you know, be a little bit more convenient. However, I did find happiness, especially in the first while. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, I want to go do this. And it's like, well, you can't leave your home there. You can't bring it home because the car won't pull it. And now all of a sudden you're stuck there. Okay, can I find happiness here? Yes, I can. It's beautiful. I freaking go talk to my trees. I go wander through the forest. I you know, I find the beauty in the existing space that we are in, and I find absolute happiness in that. So, you know, I can cultivate that happiness, but then it's like but again, it's not temporary. Like the happiness and the joy within me is great, but I have always had this longing to travel. So what's going to make me happy? Travel. How do I travel with freedom? I travel with freedom by owning my own space, that I have my own home, space for my family, friends that they can be on, that they can come take care of my stuff while I'm traveling. That's paid for, that I'm comfortably making enough, that everything is paid for, that I can know that my plants are watered, that my space is cared for, and that everybody is responsible and reliable. And that's what I'm calling in. When do I believe that I can call that in by? Today. I believe that I'm calling that in today. My intention that I've set most recently, and maybe this is probably, you know, why I'm probably talking out specifics, is I feel like, you know, guided by, again, spirit, always guided by spirit with whatever comes out of my mouth. But my intention, maybe overall, like generic to some degree, is I'm experiencing financial freedom, success in my business, and sharing my gifts with love, happiness, ease, and grace. I am supported by God and my guides, and I am whole with my higher self. I am whole and completely in alignment with all I desire. Thank you, God. I love you. And it feels good to say it. It feels good to say it out loud. It feels good to breathe that in. Does it feel a little generic to me in some regards? Yes and no, because at some point I know that my human mind limits the amount that I feel deserving of or creative of, or, you know, there's always like some form or belief that within my human construct, which I've realized we don't have to erase all of those, as long as we have belief in a higher power, as long as we believe in source, as long as we have the belief that there is a higher power working for us. Even if we are viewing that higher self as that higher power working for us, you're still in a sense giving it to God in that sense. If you're giving it to your higher self, whatever power you feel comfortable in giving some of this to, letting go of that control to a higher power, because I know within all of this and everything and all the major specific stuff I've gone into, there is a sense of control in, like, this is exactly what I want. I'm controlling this. I'm creating my life. I'm controlling this. And without letting go, I feel like I've held myself in place. I've held myself back. This is, you know, this is getting out of the space of me getting out of my own way and giving like my overall intention of being financially free, being free to travel, you know, what that looks like. My higher self knows what that looks like. So you know, I've got it in detail in multiple other places of what my human brain can construct to make this a reality and make this make me happy and find that happiness. And you know, and maybe that's one piece that I do want to add in there is I did add no, never mind, it does say happiness in there. I'm like, maybe I do need to add happiness in there, but you know, I have love and happiness in there. So my, you know, like what will create my overall happiness for me to say to you, hey, I'm headed to you to help you move next month. You know, like what you know, like I'm gonna come and I'm gonna help you move. I'm gonna do a tour and see a few other friends while I'm down in the area, and like that's what makes me happy to think that I could go tomorrow and book a plane ticket and be like, okay, you're picking me up at the airport at this time. And that's what I find happiness in, is just that overall freedom of being where I want to be when I want to be there without worrying about, well, am I going to come home to a home? Am I going to, you know, lose everything because I, you know, went somewhere for a minute? And it makes me happy knowing that a day there, you know, that day is coming, that it is here, that day is here, that I am, you know, like that I've created what I need to create. I am creating more every day. Like I'm staying in that creative like energy as a human and creative within my soul space. So it's
interesting.
literally finding a new intention, because you're sitting in the intentions of somebody who doesn't believe yet. You're sitting in the intentions, your original intentions of it's not yours yet. So what can your new intention be now that this is yours? If you're living from the end and this is your space and you have what your intent, you know, you've stepped into that newest version of you, you're going to keep reflecting back into the oldest version of you if you still believe you have something to change to become that newest version of you. So the intention of that newest version of you.
Yeah, and you know, it's interesting that you were talking about the happiness piece, because that was not a part of my life for, you know, 30 something years, you know, and so now it's like it's not about like, because yesterday it wasn't that I was unhappy, I was just like I was in fear. And then I, you know, was like, oh, let's watch a movie, let's, you know, whatever. So it's not even so much, because when I think about like the financial aspect, it's not about like, oh, this will make me happy, because we all know that it's not, you know, I mean, it may for a minute, you know, to be like, woo, but like, it's not even about happiness. It's to like, it's to like try to eliminate the fear is what it is. Because you know, we've been happy having nothing. So it's like, it's not.
And if you're creating, and this is where this part of it kind of gets tricky. And again, and this is actually, it's not tricky, it's easy, but because you're still living from the not having and the building from the lack. So this again comes back to that belief in source, the belief in trust and faith in the universe that you are going to be provided. And that is where our ego, our human minds kind of falter in letting go and the control aspect. And this is where I've been faltering up until now, is that I was like, okay, well, I'm doing everything. I'm doing all the steps. Like, what am I not doing? I had kind of stopped looking at my intentions. I stopped looking forward in my intention setting. If intention setting is so important, then why was I not setting like intentions as the person as I am? I was living in my old intentions of needing to do more, needing to do this, needing to heal, needing to grow, needing to learn, needing. So if I'm that person, if I'm the person that's done all that, which I am, absolutely, I've done all the learning. I mean, I know there's always learning to be done, but at the same time, like I'm already sharing my gifts, I'm sharing my learnings, I'm teaching people, I'm coming at this with love, and every single day I help at least one person and, you know, do my best to make one person smile. Like I am the person that I wanted to become without even realizing that I became the person that I wanted to become, because I didn't know that I was becoming somebody different. Because at the time when I was like, but I like who I am, I don't need to change anything. And then I was changing the little pieces that were kind of stuck without even realizing that that was taking place. You know, so if you, and this is where they say stop and look back. But again, if you're doing it forcefully, you're not necessarily going to see the things that you need to see. You're going to see the things that you expect to see. So it's been a lot of, you know, and that's why it's a process, because it absolutely is a process. And there is no one right way. The process is the same for everybody, but there might be a point in the process. Like, I know that I've come to the point in the process where I've recognized how I was in my own way. But then it's like, but that's going to be different for every person. But every person who stepped through and is now like no longer struggling for money, living from the other side, living from the, you know, I create what I want every single day, and my manifestations are instant. That comes from them finding that one piece that they were missing, that they found that one thing that they needed to shift within themselves. So that might be the same as you, that might be different as you, but the process doesn't stop, and you might go and you might find yourself. And then, and it found for me, it's like I found myself in what the cycle within myself was. There was one from my past that was just like, and how I was relating to friendship and calling in space for people, because it was just a long-standing wound that happened when I was 4, and I didn't call it a wound because my sister has been my life. But in my sister being born, I had already never really been the like, you know, like I was a quiet child. I didn't require a lot of attention. But then when my sister came, I got none. So, you know, but I didn't remember that. I didn't look at it like that, because I gave all my attention to my sister. So it didn't matter if I was getting attention, because to me, she was my attention. But then the wound was that when my sister was born, that was another person, and I became less important, less significant. So then, which made sense in my dream, because when I went into the restaurant, all of a sudden my sister wasn't my sister anymore, and all of a sudden there was this feeling of not being significant. But I didn't put it in alignment with the fact that when my sister was born, that I honestly didn't feel significant no more. And then when I would have friends, I would have that one good friend, and I mean, it didn't help that everybody in my town would move away. Always, they never stayed. And that reflected my dad's wound of blaming his dad for him not having friends, because he was a military brat and they were always moving. So he kept us in one place, but he moved us to the place that everybody moved from. So so then here I am, like every time a new person would come to town, they'd be friends with me over the summer, and then school would start, and because there'd be other people, and I was no longer like cool and whatever. I was short, I had freckles, I had glasses, you know, like I was the nerd. I was smart, I was funny. Well, you know, I thought it was funny. I probably am still funny, but either way, you know, like, but either way, like I looked at it as, I'm just not significant, right? So that was that cycle. So I just, since that dream, like I've been really playing with that. And then there was another dream, and then there was just an overall realization, and then I did a healing within myself about it, and then I'm like, okay, you know. But then I've been really, like, my emotional has been like super freaking like wonky since letting that go. But then in letting that go, then I found that thing on the side of the building, at the big yellow sign. Like, there was no brighter sign that I could have got, because I've never picked up food from that place before. I'd never had a reason to go like up to it, and the fact that the believe was circled on my favorite and only like Bible quote that literally I've recalled since I was 11 years old, at a big yellow, my manifestation color. And I think the order was even like 7757 or something ridiculous like that. So, you know, like there was no more signs that I could have said, like, this is you know, like, you're ready to step out of your own way. Like, believe in me. Like, you know, just believe in me. Like give yourself space, give yourself room to grow. And that is when I came home and I wrote out that intention. And then I even dug deeper into it and actually like wrote out there, and then was like, what is my perception of that particular Bible verse? And and it's really just like I say, like, again, like, because I had kind of come out of that calm. I didn't even, like, I'd pulled the card that said, you know, you're developed a whirlwind around you again, and you don't even realize. And I'm like, huh, I really have. You know, like, I really developed a whirlwind that I didn't recognize, because again, it was back into that comfortableness. So it's very, it's tricky in the human mind to wrap your head around the letting go, the releasing control, the recognizing that energy is money, and money is energy, love is energy, happiness is energy. It's all energy. And where do you want to hold your frequency? How do you get to that frequency and hold it there? And that's the process. And that's the ups and the downs and the ups and the downs, because I was doing like the dance steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and start again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Oh, no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? That's where you know, like I understand like Yuki and talking about like the beliefs are important, but it's not necessarily our inner beliefs that need to be the ones that are shifted. It's letting go of our beliefs and recognizing that we are protected and divinely guided, and starting to listen to the intuition, because when you don't listen to the intuition, they sting you with wasps.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I think you are funny. You're super funny. A lot of what you're saying reminds me of my daughter. And interestingly enough, well, she doesn't really, does she have freckles? I don't know, but she definitely like wore glasses, and she would even like, I remember one Halloween, she's like, I want to be a nerdy witch. And I was like, I don't know what that looks like, but okay, right? Like, so she literally put on like glasses and like had like the tape here to pretend like it was broken, and like she'd have like 2 different colored socks and like all this stuff like that, but then also like the feeling of like insignificance. And interestingly enough, it wasn't until she was 10 that I met Rustin, and then, you know, we had children. But so I totally feel that way for her. And yeah, it you know, like that living in the survival and like the lack and limitation, like it does, like, just, I mean, as crappy as it feels, it's like the comfortability almost like outweighs like the shittiness, if that makes sense. Like the whole like, yep, this is exactly how it's been my whole life. You know what I mean? Like it overrides the whole like, yeah, but it's felt like crap your whole life. You know what I mean? Like so you almost, like, I noticed like when I'll yell at my kids, like, and it's definitely like changed exponentially. Um, you know, I've been less frequent and all that stuff, but it's like when I do it, because I get to that moment where like I've been like, okay, like, can you please do this? Can you please do this? Can you please stop fighting? Can you XYZ? And then I finally get to that moment where I'm just like, I've hit 10 and I'm like, now I'm pissed. And but it's like I noticed that, I think it was this morning, that I was like, it was because that whole time I felt like I didn't have any control. Hey, can you guys please stop fighting? Hey, can you guys please do your laundry? Whatever. And then it would be like 3, 4 more things would be stacked on that I felt I had no control over. Okay, now not only have they not done what I asked, but now there's wrappers on the floor. Now they're fighting. So now you're just stacking it on top. So then I get to that where I'm like, okay, now I have to like yell in order for you guys to just at least listen to what I have to say. You know what I mean? But like that feeling of like, okay, phew, like now I have control over something. Now at least you're listening to me. You know what I mean? Like physically hearing me. And so that control, but it was a great awareness. There's one, by the way, of that feeling, because I don't think I had been aware of it before, that and like, and it's interesting because I've said it, you know what I mean? But then like to be of the awareness in that moment, to feel, you know what I mean? And then also like the survival, like, you know what I mean, feeling to because it like 100% it does. Like when I go through the whole like, oh, I make $50,000 a month thing, there is a part that feels really uncomfortable. And I think that is why yesterday happened, or yeah, not like with the air conditioner, but I'm saying with me internally, is because I had, I mean, it was like a good 3-4 days, which is probably the longest I've had, of like living in, done, don't give a shit about anything on the outside, in terms of like, it's not going to phase how I'm feeling. You know what I mean? It's not going to break that. And I think what happened, I had this awareness yesterday too. Like I woke up Monday and the ego's like, oh, we better get back in the driver's seat. Like this shit she's taking over. You know what I mean? And it was like, we're like full speed ahead. Because it was on, and I even for a couple times I'm like, oh, I tried to do the whole like, well, that's interesting.
Nice. Yeah.
We're good. Like we'll take over from here. I appreciate it. And it was like, oh hell no. Like
Sending love, like saying the word love towards your ego, that has been like my biggest shift there. Like even yesterday, like even though it was there, it wasn't screaming at me. Like I did, like I was off and on like fighting tears for a few reasons, but there's some stuff off screen that I'll actually talk about here because I want your
Yeah.
perception on it. But
Yeah.
but I was like up and down, like in and out of it, like what are my true beliefs? Because if I truly believe this, I don't have to be sad about what I'm premonitioning, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, so and so I was like very, very in and out. Like he goes like, well, no, you need to be sad. I'm like, no, I don't. I really, really don't. Like I really, really don't. And I love you and thank you for thinking that I do and stuff like that. So sending that love, just saying that love word, like seems to really take it down like I'm 100 notches. However, with the cycle with your children, how can you turn that into an intern that like, and you've already said it a few times, like how it makes you feel about like the control and not having control over the situation. So it's the internal cycle that you're meant to be healing on and letting go of that control is playing out within your children and what you're experiencing with them. So it's like if you can get a grasp on like where that cycle started within yourself, like in this lifetime, we may have to go back further and we can, again, go back into some readings and stuff like that, and find if there is a past life that this cycle has stemmed from. But the cycle, like where did it start in this lifetime where you felt that you had to have control over absolutely everything? And that can be from the time you were born, basically, because that's probably the first time we're out of control was when we pop out of like our safe space. So but yeah, but when you're when you're stepping when you leave that first sense of insecurity, that first sense of lack of control comes from like us coming out of the womb because we're no longer in that safe space. Now we're reliant. We can't walk, we can't talk, we can't say what we want. Our humans are not that are taking care of us aren't in tune with their intuition and to themselves, so they're not actually taking that space to actually talk to us the way that we can talk to them, but they don't recognize that because they're we chose a set of humans that aren't in tune with their intuition and internal, like what they are able to do, and so now we're in this space of fear because, well, if they don't actually figure out what we want, then we could die. So from the time we're born, like we're looking to find something to give us control. And so that can be like a really big space to start, like especially now that we've gone through like a few of those recodes where you've done the anger, you've done the sadness, we've done the guilt, we've done a few other steps in. So all of the emotions now are healthy emotions, so they're coming on the way that they're meant to, in a healthy way. So you're always going to experience somebody's going to make you mad, they're going to make you mad, like but it's not going to hold on to you. You're going to process it, you're going to get over it, you're going to move on, right? So it's really important that in those moments, especially with a cycle that can be a physical cycle between you and other little things, little ones, little people, little whatever, but how does that reflect from your feeling of needing control within this space within your life? Because as you start to talk yourself through that and journal your way through that one and finding how you can release that, and this is where giving it to source, giving it, like it's like, okay, I recognize a cycle, and this is like I I recognize the cycle, thank you for being present. We're moving into the next phase. I am the new version of me. I no longer need these cycles to play out the way that they are. I'm letting go of control, and I'm trusting and having faith in the way things are and the way things are going to be and how they're turning out. And that's really going to start. And then once, then that could be the one thing that steps you into that next level of frequency and bringing things in. Because I've found, like, in just feeling that trust in source, and it's so weird how that all kind of transpired, because I always I'm giving gratitude. I'm always talking to source. I'm always talking to God. I'm always talking, and I'm always like, believing and having faith and trusting to a degree. There's levels of that's where the levels of degree, and like it's been there, but how strong has it really been? Because and then listening to Neville Goddard, once that shift has truly taken place, you will know it, because everything you've been waiting for is going to show up on your doorstep in one way or another, and probably entirely better than you ever expected. So that's where I am, so in seeing that cycle with the control, like there's the control within the business, control within the money, control within your children. So I would definitely say your spirit is yelling at you to release some of that control and step out of your own way, because in trying to control everything is probably that blockage and energy that's actually preventing some of the amazing things that you've already created, that are already yours. So how can you release control and allow that stuff in?
Yeah, 100%. And that resonates. And actually, I think I told you, but I don't know if I shared the exact ones, but I did some shamanic healings last year. And there was some stuff, because she actually wrote down, because she's like, just focus on like just being quiet, like, I don't want you to worry about like, trying to write stuff down. And so she actually wrote the notes, and then after it was finished, she sent them to me. So I kept them, and there was quite a few in there, because she would say like what past lifetime it was, and kind of like what was involved, and it I'll have to send it to you guys, but it she waved back, and it does involve like loss of control. So I mean, there's plenty I can see in this lifetime, like from like my past and growing up and stuff, but then there's others from previous lifetimes as well. So I feel like it's really compounded. So this totally makes sense. And
we'll work on that. We'll work on that, because I don't want you to like, because like I mean there is like this level of, yes, addressing and you just want to recognize it, but as you're recognizing it, you don't have to relive it. You don't want to take yourself back there per se. It's just recognizing it and releasing it, and just feeling into that release. And I mean, and that's where we can get again tied up in circles, and and thinking, well, maybe I didn't do enough in that space, and maybe I didn't do enough, or whatever. And that's where like we can revisit, we can just sit, and we'll sit through like a recode where we'll just talk you back through all of the moments where you have felt out of control, or that like that things would have been better with control, and those kinds of things. And we'll find all of those moments without having to actually revisit and do all of those moments. But I'm going to hit stop, since we are running out of time before Shannon's thing.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody, for watching.
Bye.